Hello and welcome to Narayana Eyes. The Places of Worship Act 1991 was introduced at a time when India was grappling with intense communal tensions. And these tensions were particularly in the wake of Babri Masjid demolition in 1992. The Places of Worship Act, its core objective seemed very simple. That is, to prevent any changes to the religious character of places of worship as they stood on 15th August 1947, that is, the day India got independent. Simply put, it prohibited the conversion of any religious place to another religion's place of worship except for the Babri Masjid case. But over the years, this law, which was meant to foster harmony, unfortunately has troubled up a lot of debate. So let us understand why was the law brought in and why has it been so controversial. Now in the early 1990s, India was caught up in the aftermath of the Babri Masjid demolition. This was a deeply divisive event that had sparked widespread communal riots in our country. In this volatile atmosphere, the Places of Worship Act aimed to prevent future conflicts over religious sites. The law's central idea was to freeze, that is, stop the religious identity of any place of worship exactly as it stood on 15th August 1947. Essentially, preventing any attempts to alter or reclaim religious spaces that could lead to conflict. This was especially important given the sensitive nature of religious sites in India, where a single dispute could escalate into something far bigger, and this could have threatened national unity. The law thus sought to create a legal barrier maintaining the status quo and avoiding the repetition of violent episodes like the Babri Masjid incident. So while the Places of Worship Act applied to all religious sites in India, there was one major exception, that is the Babri Masjid in Ayodhya. This exception raised eyebrows and has become one of the main reasons why the act has remained so controversial. Why was the Babri Masjid treated differently? The Babri Masjid dispute has been ongoing for decades, with both Hindus and Muslims laying claim to the site. It wasn't just a matter of religion, it was deeply political. In 1992, the Babri Masjid was demolished by a large group of Hindu activists, triggering massive riots and a political storm. The case had already gone through years of legal wrangling, dispute, and the government felt that the issue was far too politically charged to fall under the Places of Worship Act's jurisdiction. Thus, an exemption was made allowing the Babri Masjid to remain a point of contention even as the act sought to prevent future disputes. However, critics argue that this exception created a double standard. If the law was meant to freeze the status of all religious places, why was one dispute allowed to remain open? This inconsistency has fueled accusations that the act, instead of promoting peace, may have inadvertently or by mistake reinforced the very divisions it was designed to address. So, the Places of Worship Act was designed to be peacekeeping measure, right? However, as time passed, it began to face criticism from various quarters. Many argue that by freezing the religious status of places of worship, the law prevents communities from addressing historical wrongs. Take for instance the claims for the Ram Janmabhoomi site in Ayodhya. While the Babri Masjid dispute has been set aside by the law, many believe that the freezing of status of such religious sites without considering their complex history, it leaves a sense of injustice hanging in the air. Critics argue that the act stifles dialogue and prevents legitimate claims from being heard. In some ways, the act seems to prioritize peace at the expense of justice. It prevents any legal challenges to the status of places of worship, even if such challenge might be based on historical grievances. Now, this has led to questions about whether the law truly promotes communal harmony or whether it simply suppresses the rightful claims of certain communities. Now, experts on both sides of the debate have weighed in on the Places of Worship Act. On one hand, supporters argue that the law is crucial in maintaining religious peace. They point out that India's history is filled with disputes over sacred spaces, and freezing the status of such places helps prevent further violence. For them, the law is a necessary safeguard for secularism and peace. However, critics believe that the law is outdated and fails to consider the evolving nature of religious and social issues in India. By freezing the status of religious places, they argue the law denies communities the right to fight for justice or to address past wrongs. Now, these critics contend that while the law might prevent conflict in the short term, it creates a situation where the unresolved issues are swept under the rug, potentially making future disputes even worse. So, what is the road ahead? So, you see, the Places of Worship Act has certainly served its purpose in maintaining a fragile peace, but its application and implications have sparked an ongoing debate. The law has become a symbol of the tension between justice and peace and between secularism and religious identity. As the Babri Masjid issue, continues to shape the conversation around this law, it is clear that the Places of Worship Act is a double-edged sword. It was designed to prevent the kind of violence that followed the Babri Masjid demolition, but its restriction on legal challenges to religious sites have made it a contentious subject. Whether the law will be amended, repealed, or left unchanged remains to be seen. One thing is clear: as India continues to grapple with its complex religious history, the Places of Worship Act will remain a focal point of discussion for years to come. The law, which once seemed like a simple solution to a pressing problem, has proven to be anything but straightforward. Thank you so much for watching.